If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump. You thought I was going to say it, didn't you, Doug? Look, for the first 47 minutes, we do our introductory fun time conversation, and then we get into the fitness stuff. But here's what we talked about in that intro. We talked about Justin's Thunderbird flight. He's got a flight scheduled to go up in a jet plane.
I went to the danger zone
and experience some crazy G's. And that spurred me to remind him about getting life insurance because, he's up there doing dangerous stuff.
It's a good call, Sal.
Yeah, so now we are sponsored by Health IQ. They provide life insurance for fit and healthy people. So if you're fit and healthy, take their Health IQ quiz, which is free, and you'll get a free quote. And believe it or not, your price will be better because you did well on that quiz. Here's what you do. Go to healthiq.com/mindpump. Take that quiz. See if you could do better than we did on that quiz. Then we talked about the sales training that we did on Friday, and we talked about the Mind Pump mission, the overarching mission of what we do. We talked about the event Mind Pump and Mimosas. That is coming up on 4/20 in San Jose. It's a live event. Meet us. Ask us questions. Here's what you do if you want to attend. Go to mindpumplive.com and buy yourself a ticket. Get your boyfriend and girlfriend a ticket, too.
Come drink with us.
Then we talked about the Netflix documentary, The Dirt. It was about Motley Crue, those maniacs. Then we talked about our friend Amanda Bucci and how she's now in a polyamorous relationship. A little bit of a rant there.
What?
We talked about my all-day workout on Saturday. I did another one of those. Every single time I do that, I build muscle and get stronger. This time, I helped fuel the workouts with Four Sigmatic Cordyceps. It gave me stimulant-free energy. Love that supplement. Four Sigmatic, the maker of the best extracts from mushrooms you will find anywhere. If you go to Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/mindpump and use the code mindpump at checkout, you will get a discount. Then we talked more about digital wellness, and I brought up a vegan article about how the YouTube vegan community, a little bit of infighting and implosions going on.
Uh-oh.
Then we got into the fitness portion of this episode. The first question was, what are some exercises that we hate to do, but we know are good for us? We named a few there. The next question, if science ever comes out to prove that you can train differently than the way we've been teaching, will we change the way we do our programs? Find out if our egos are too big. The next question, how important is it for a personal trainer to be in shape? Should you be fit, lean, ripped, muscular to be a trainer, or is it more about just practicing what you preach? And the final question, we give our tips on how to not be socially awkward. Also, you only got 5 days left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's done. MAPS Aesthetic is 50% off. One of our most popular fitness programs. Look, it's high volume. It's designed for people who want to sculpt and shape their bodies how they see fit. It is for intermediate to advanced lifters. It is a bodybuilder, physique competitor, bikini competitor inspired program. It's half off. That sale is ending in 5 days. If you want to take advantage of this promotion, you go to mapsfitnessproducts.com and use the code BLACK50, BLACK50 for the discount. Also, if you want to check out our other MAPS programs, you can check them out on that site. We have a lot of them for different goals, different sets of experiences. And look, if you're super serious and you want to do a year of working out all mapped out for you, no pun intended, do our MAPS Super Bundle. It's 1 year of exercise programming. You can find that and all of our MAPS programs, including the 50% off MAPS Aesthetic at mapsfitnessproducts.com.
T-shirt time! And it's T-shirt time.
Oh, shit, Doug. You know I love this time of the week.
Oh, yeah. We have 6 winners from iTunes. We have Alpha Hispanic, Dare to Move Fitness, Radio 886. And from Facebook, we have Robert Davies, Bob Werner, Rita Ling. All of you are winners. Send the name I just read to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, include your Instagram handle, and we'll get that shirt right out to you.
Hey, when are you doing your Your jet flying,
bro.
Thunderbird.
I'm going to the danger zone,
dude. When is that happening?
Did you hear him singing this morning?
Yeah,
was that?
Yeah, he's singing Top Gun.
I seriously I'm watching it this weekend. I mean, over the weekend, I was like wanting to play like Top Gun and all that. This is Thursday. I'm going up
this Thursday
in an F-16. I met the pilot via DM. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be me taking you up. And I'm like, oh my god!
Did you ask any questions? How
Yeah.
long you been flying for?
Yeah, right. I should have.
How'd you score in flight school?
Yeah. Are you like the top dog? Like, are you Goose? Are you Maverick? Like, what am I dealing with here?
Is he gonna like put you through the ringer? Did he say, or is he just gonna?
Oh, he's like, are you ready to pull 9 Gs?
No, he's not.
I was like, what does that mean?
That's 9, bro. That's 9 times your fucking weight on your body.
I'm probably gonna see.
You brought that up the other day, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know that. So for every G, it's you feel the pressure of your own body weight. So 9 would be 9 times Justin's 280 pounds. That's crazy.
That's a lot of weight.
That is.
That's what you say. 9 times 280.
That's more than a ton. That's more than a ton.
How's the plane gonna hold him?
No way.
That's gonna press way through the back seat.
Wait a second. That can't be true. It can't be
That's
that.
what he said, dude.
No.
He said
I mean,
9
I'm not
Gs.
saying. I'm saying what Sal said.
Yeah.
That it's because literally a ton of weight on your body, you would be crushed.
I don't think it's literally like the same thing, but okay. So you have to wear special
This
pants.
is like the pressure of it,
bro. You have to wear special pants and do exercises because your blood sucks out from your brain and you pass out.
Yeah.
That's how the G's affect you. And you ever see pictures of people's faces when that happens?
No, I've seen
They're
stuff
like this. Looks like they're. You ever watch an 80s horror movie and someone's face melts? You know, the old
Total Recall.
Yeah, that's what your face looks like.
I figure like my face is gonna look like Arnold when he gets outside in Mars and he's.
Hey, so you need to tell them, because I'm sure these guys, that's their thing, right? That's their specialty. So you would think when you get in the plane that he wants to show off a little. So tell him you're too valuable to the business right now. We can't have
ease your way in, pal.
Yeah. You don't need to teach or show me anything.
Yeah,
it's all good.
I forget what they were talking about. Like, there's this specific takeoff that's like really like boom, like gets you like right into like maximal G forces, and I'm like, okay, I don't know about that one,
bro. What if you're up there?
That one.
What if you're up there, right? And you're flying around.
I'm so jealous right now.
This is so fun, and then the dude all of a sudden you hear him like. Excuse me, sir. And he's like, "Sorry, Justin. Emergency. We got to go to battle."
Yeah. Oh my god. It'd be like
go to battle.
You ever seen that movie
Iron Eagle?
Yeah, Iron Eagle. Yes. That's the other one I'm gonna watch this week.
Dude, please go get like an old school Walkman, dude. Like, get an old school Walkman, put it strapped to your thigh.
I don't know what they're gonna allow actually in the cockpit. Like, obviously you get all geared up in like this crazy cool helmet with visor and all that.
Barf bag.
Dude, I wonder if they'll let me play some music and shit.
Or Insta-story it? Can you Insta-story it?
I don't know.
That would be rad.
Apparently,
how would you hold your arm
GoPro.
up? Think about how hard it would be to hold your arm up, videotape yourself while you're.
I think
whole
there's
time
there's a GoPro like on the back seat. I think like shooting back.
In Top
so it gets
Gun,
my
do they
face.
flip each other off? It can't be that crazy, Sal.
Yeah, because that's inaccurate. That's a super accurate movie about what it's like.
Yeah, Courtney was like,
I pull my science from that.
I saw it.
Don't you remember he flips upside down and he flips?
oh yeah,
yeah. Doesn't look that
I
hard.
do remember that. No, I guess like the crossing pattern thing. Courtney was like, "You can do like just make sure." I'm like, "It's just going to be us." I think. I don't think that we're going to be up there with in the air with anybody else. But she was like, "Just make sure they don't do the crossing pattern thing." I guess that's like where
dangerous
it's crazy.
and shit happens.
Yeah,
dude, I'm serious. What if you're up there and then shit goes down?
Don't say that.
What if you're up there and he's like, "Hey, oh shit, we have to do evasive maneuvers." Fucking, there's a Russian whatever is on our tail.
I'm in.
A MiG. That's what it's called. The MiGs are here.
I'm flipping the switch, man. I'm like, you tell me what to do. Tell me what button to push, man. I'm ready.
He thinks he's Luke Skywalker on
I'm gonna fuck some shit up.
Luke Skywalker gets in the fucking gun and starts shooting.
I forgot to.
This means war.
Hold on a second. Did you get your Health IQ life insurance set up before you can play?
I did it. I have life insurance, but I better look back into the policy. Maybe I do need to upgrade it and
Health
get
IQ,
Health IQ.
Bro. It's for fit and healthy people. You just did your physical. Everything came back great.
You guys see
that's
all the
true.
You see all their commercials popping up?
No.
Oh yeah, they're all
They're
over
not
TV
going to
now.
like me going up in the air.
Are
though.
they? I know. Will they? Will that take the cost up?
I'm
Maybe
sure
you should
it
do
would.
it after you come back and
I
survive.
just won't tell them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you know what the average cost of a funeral is? By the way, I just looked it up.
What?
$7,000 to $9,000 on average.
Wow.
Is that just like a basic funeral too?
Yeah.
If you're getting buried, right?
Yeah, that's not going to be like Adam wants a fucking. You want
you want like a parade.
Yeah, you want like a
heard.
legit. Wow, look at that.
See, he's got a camera in there.
Oh yeah, there it is.
That'll be you, Justin, flying around.
Oh my god, that makes my balls tingle.
That's so badass.
That's gonna be crazy. Oh, look at the G's. Ooh, he's going up there. Yeah. Dude, you need to have, like, people don't realize the skill involved in doing this.
I think that person passed out.
No.
They're just like,
she's going upside down right now.
Yeah.
It's like Weekend at Bernie's, the whole time. Just
so you're gonna be wearing one of those masks, huh, with the tube?
Yeah. I know, it's cool, dude.
Yeah. What if he pranks you?
Bro,
like he
I'm so
farts
jealous
in the tube
right now.
Yeah. Or it's like nitrous oxide.
When you get up there, you got to tell him, I want to do this. I want to go the next time, man.
Do you really?
This is like, fuck yeah, bro. This is a once in a lifetime thing.
I'm cool.
You will probably go the rest of your life, Justin.
Yeah.
And be able to say that no one else, no one you've ever met has even done
you've
that.
done like something.
You've done
most
something nobody else has
will
done.
ever do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I know. That's really what I'm excited about.
What I'm proud of is I'll be like, hey, I know someone who did it.
You could like vicariously live to my video.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Damn, bro. Anyway, dude, how awesome, how fun was that sales training at Red Dot?
Oh, it was great.
Wasn't that a blast?
Great turnout.
No, you were fired too, man. You really were. It was.
You actually had some great jokes. I was going to tell you, dude.
Oh, I
You're
appreciate
throwing them in there. I was dying.
That's it brought me back. You know what surprised me the most, and I want to see what you guys' opinion on this is. What shocked me was I would teach these kind of basic, communication techniques that I learned when I was 19 in my first sales training or whatever. And these are things that, we took for granted because we were part of I forget how instrumental 24-Hour Fitness was in developing those skills and how much money they had invested in teaching these kinds of things. Because I'm teaching what I think are these basic kind of, these are surface level but important skills and techniques. And trainers are like, my mind was blown. I didn't even know, that you should be able to say these things or talk about those things that way. And I was just like, oh shit, nobody's teaching this anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so. I know it was funny because it was like a flashback. It took me right back to when we were all kind of going through that process and practicing sharpening the sales skills.
Someone asked a question at the end about how the four of us have made it this long, as partners and not like, choked each other out and, what we think of partnerships and stuff like that. And one of the things that moment why we were there and that question like really reminded me is, something that we did when we first started this business was, we were all on the same page with our why. I mean, there was, as crazy as it may have sounded when we first started, our intentions were to change the fitness industry. It wasn't like,
for the positive.
Right. Yeah. We didn't sit down and go like, we're going to make money from this and this and this and this. It was like, listen, this is the problems that we see in our space and this is what we think we can do. Like,
and we all agreed on it so much. Like that was our purpose.
And so what was cool was there was a moment when somebody asked that and I was reminded of how important it is, even as you start to have success and a business grows and takes off, that you continuously revisit your why. Mm-hmm. Because it's really easy when you start to take off and the money starts coming in and there's all these opportunities and you're all over the place to get really distracted by that. And I think if we allowed that to happen all the time and we didn't revisit our whys, I think that we probably would have imploded at one point.
Totally.
But doing that and being there that night, it just reminds me of this is our why. This is why we did this, because there's nothing else that we do is probably going to impact people as much as those live events. Because the live events, especially those ones like that one, Sal, that you were teaching is, those are all other fitness leaders. I mean, you had physical therapists and chiropractors and doctors and other trainers and gym owners. I mean, you had it all that were in there. And those people are out there touching hundreds of lives. And so to be able to give to them and to positively impact them, like that's really what this is all about. If there's anything that's going to move the needle as far as that may not return dollars in our pockets right there, but that's going to towards our why.
It's fully in line with who we are and what we're trying to do. And the most telling part of that whole conversation I had with the people there, it was a good maybe 2 hours of a training. But the most telling part was in the very beginning when I asked everybody there to tell me, raise your hand and tell me what got you into this industry in the first place. not one person said it was to make a lot of money and be successful. And there's nothing wrong with being successful and wanting to make money. But the reason why that was so telling is because fitness is, the people who work in fitness, who really work with people, it is a passion-driven, meaning-driven choice. Like everybody who does it is because I just want to help people. I love fitness. I see what it's done for me. I can see what it does for other people. These are people who are driven by this purpose that I find incredible. And so when I hear that from people, I'm like, yes, like this is why I want to talk to these people. I mean, it was a complete blast.
Yeah, that's the core. I mean, getting back to sort of in its pure form. Like talking to all these trainers, it just reminds you. How we all started and why we started and what we do, and why we do this. So it was great.
On that note, the Mind Pump and Mimosas that we're doing, that's coming up, that actually, so the original idea was, we had this really nice little area at this, I don't know what you call those, a speakeasy type of bar, cool outside area where we're at. We had reserved this nice area that would fit about 80 to 100 people, and we didn't know what kind of response we would get when we put that out. Well, right away, all of those sold. And so Taylor was meeting with the guy who owns the place and sets it all up. And because there was such a great response, we're going to take over the whole place.
So we got more tickets.
So there's more tickets, and which is really cool that we'll have that whole place now. We're not going to be sharing it with
let's light the roof on
the
fire.
public or anything. So it'll
not
be
literally.
Sorry, I got excited.
It'll be just Mind Pump people. So I'm excited.
How do you get to it again? Is it Mind Pump event, or what was it, Doug? Do you remember?
Mind Pump Live.
MindPumpLive.com. You know what? And speaking of which, this something really. So we you talked about our purpose and why we're doing what we're doing and why we're able to stick together, even though oftentimes people don't see this, and sometimes they hear it on air, but people don't see off air. We oftentimes disagree, so it's not like we agree on everything, or at least agree with the methods or the way we communicate certain things. In fact, sometimes our disagreements are loud and they last a while.
Lots
and we
of hands
debate
in the air. Yeah.
But because we have that overarching purpose, we get through them and we're like one unit. But the other reason is I think we've been doing this long enough and we're at an age now where we have maturity and wisdom to check our egos. Because when you look at, like, a good example to me of what happens when egos get in the way is when you look at, like, bands. Music is another passion-driven industry. People don't get into music just because they're like, I just want to make a lot of money. That happens, but oftentimes people get into music because, like, I fucking love the music, right?
It very rarely happens you make money.
Right, and then sometimes they make a lot of money, and then what ends up happening? Their fucking egos blow up, and then the band, breaks apart or whatever. This is a very common story. And so I was watching this, you guys need to fucking watch this on Netflix, called The Dirt.
Oh, the Motley Crue one?
It's the story of Motley Crue.
I heard it was really good.
Oh, dude. First of all, those guys were
maniacs.
Insane.
Berserkers.
Insane maniacs. I don't even know how they're alive. Nikki Sixx he almost killed himself I don't know how many times. Insane. These guys were absolutely...
Dude, he could drink like a fifth of whatever, like whiskey.
Dude, he got 2 adrenaline shots to the heart to bring him back at one point.
Are you alluding that we are the Motley Crue of podcasting?
We are the Motley Crue of podcasting, bro.
We are not that hardcore, dude.
Hold on a second.
We might have been.
Hold on a second.
We might have been.
Here's where I'm going with that. Imagine if we did this. Imagine if we were all 20.
Oh, God.
19, 20 when this all happened.
Yeah. No,
I've been known for a cake stand or two.
Yeah. Dude, no, I'm serious. It would have been like Motley Crue. It would have been insane. It would have been a crazy 3-year run. Someone would have died or something crazy would have happened.
Yeah.
But and that's the other aspect of it is we're older and we have that experience.
Yeah.
Because the egos would have taken over, dude. Because I mean, you see these kids, they're young rock stars, and the shit that they just go fucking.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting because in terms of rock stars that are out there right now, like back in the day, that was like when you made it, like you almost kind of had to act a certain way to pull off. I'm the rock star. I'm the Axl Rose that goes out there, gets like yells at the crowd if anything isn't perfect, and like I'm out of here, and like just prima donna. I wonder like how many artists are even out there like that anymore.
I don't know, but these guys were like that, dude. And they destroyed hotels. hotels. They fucking did crazy amounts of drugs.
Just having sex with everybody.
They were, Vince in particular was just a maniac. You know the story of Ozzy Osbourne, right? When they went on tour with Ozzy. Have you guys heard this story?
Biting off the bird, you mean that one?
No.
Bat's head.
No, so there's a story.
Was it bat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Even more disgusting.
So this is even more. This is even worse. So Ozzy Osbourne is obviously the king of fucking insane.
He's done the craziest shit.
Yeah, he's
bar none.
Yeah, he's like, certifiably crazy. So they went on tour with Ozzy, which I think is hilarious. And by this point, Ozzy now he'd been fucking a rock star now for at least 10 years by this point, right? This is like 1986 or whatever. So they're going on tour and they're out in this hotel in the pool area, and Motley Crue's out there getting hammered. And I heard this story. Apparently it's true. You can look. It's a true story. So they're out there partying. Ozzy Osbourne comes out half smashed, and he's wearing a woman's dress.
Oh,
and everybody's like, "Oh, Ozzy, what's up?" And he's like, "What's up, you fuckers?" And he's talking shit, and he goes, and he's trying to give them like advice, and he's like, "Listen, when you're out there on the tour, shit gets crazy." He goes, "It'll take your life, man. It'll take your life." And they're laughing. They're like, "That's that." They're like, "We love that shit." And he goes, "No, you don't understand." And so then he jumps down the ground. He goes, "Give me your straw." Takes the guy's straw and snorts up a line
of ants?
Ants.
I knew it.
Off the ground.
I heard that like before. Okay, so they actually show footage of this?
Oh, yeah. So I
thought that was like an urban legend.
No, it's not footage. It's all reenacted, right?
Oh, yeah,
but it's a true story.
Okay.
Snorts up the ants. Everybody's freaking out. They're laughing their asses off. He goes, "You think that's crazy?" And then he takes a pee on the fucking deck. And then he gets down and licks up his own pee.
Oh, my God.
So now everybody's like, what the fuck? Like, and they're laughing. They're like, Ozzy's fucking crazy. So Nikki Sixx, who is also a maniac, and he's thinking, oh, shit, this guy's...
I gotta outdo him.
He's showing everybody how crazy he is. I don't give a fuck. I'll do that too. Takes a pee, goes down. Ozzy pushes him out of the way, licks fucking
his pee.
Oh, my God.
And everybody's like, "You're okay. You win.
Like
bro."
why, though?
That's a true story. Dude.
You did a post or a meme, I think it was yesterday, on that I think is so true.
Counterculture?
Yes.
I know.
And it was a picture of a guy from 1980, and he had like the anarchy tattoo on his shoulder, and he was flipping off, and he had the spike wrist. Yeah, mohawk, dyed hair. And then the 2018 counterculture, and it was like
a guy with his kid and his wife.
Yeah. I'm like,
that's so true.
It is, though. I mean, it's kind of that's what we're seeing right now. It's
that's why I'm telling you right now. There's going to be a
dude. Ned Flanders is badass.
There's going to be a growing wave of youth that are like, we value the things that you get from abstaining from certain things and from structure. It's going to start to grow because everything's so accessible now that everybody's starting to realize that's not the key. And you know what's crazy about this? That actually is funny. Did you guys see? And did you guys see Amanda Bucci's post?
Yes. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up.
So she did this whole post, and then she wrote this whole article about...
First of all, before you go into it, the thing that right away hit me is like, why? Like, why
do it, or why fucking talk about
it?
Yeah, exactly. Why display it and talk about it? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand what the point of... Because, I mean, to each their own. I'm not here to judge anybody who's...
Yeah, if you're not hurting anybody, whatever.
Right. Well, that's how I think we all agree and believe on that. But what does my sexuality have anything to do with my business and my following and the people that I mean, unless you're trying to influence and encourage them to do the same thing.
I think you're looking for... I'm speculating here. Yeah. You want people to validate you, to make you feel like it's okay and whatever. And look, if you're not hurting anybody, I don't care. But here's the thing that I find surprising. What surprises me the most is that the fitness, health, and wellness space is the space that seems to be pushing this lifestyle. But the way that they're pushing it, they're promoting it as an evolved way of living. Right. They're not saying this is what I do and I have fun and whatever. They're saying
interesting how you can go to Burning Man and then come back and now I'm into like multiple relationships.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's an interesting formula.
So hear me out on this. These same people who are in health and wellness, who understand the value of abstaining and structure around food and activity. So these same people will tell you, you can't just fucking eat cake and cookies and shit all the time, even though you desire and want those things. You don't, because they bring you poor health. So in reality, you have to learn to have a good relationship with food and eat the things that really serve your body. They understand that. They understand the value of that. But then they go to relate with sex and relationships, and they say, "Oh, it's evolved to just have sex with everybody because that's what our desires wants, and it's great and it's challenging." You know why it's challenging?
It's the IFYM of sex.
It is.
It is.
It is.
As long as it fits your macros.
It is.
Totally.
And again, I don't care. It's like, teach their own. Again, if you're not hurting anybody, then that's fine.
Right.
But I will tell you something right now. I think it's far more evolved to identify your desires and lusts and all these other, just like you have for food, just like you have for drugs, just like you have for sloth and not wanting to work out. My desire is to sit on the couch and watch TV all day long, but I make structures and do these things, and I abstain from leisure sometimes because I know it's better for me, just like I do with food. Being with somebody that you commit to and saying, we are going to abstain from these things and develop a deep, long relationship. Because here's what happens at some point. At some fucking point, you get old. At some point, sex is gone. It just is. It's just, if you live a long, healthy life and you're 90, you're probably not going to have tons of sex or whatever. What do you have left? You have this other relation, this deepness that you've developed. Right. So I don't think it's
if you're
evolved.
evolving, your entire relationship around sex and how to figure out how to keep it spicy and everything like crazy, if that's like what you're leading out with, I mean, obviously that's going to have like a shelf life to it. If that's like what you're looking to seek out in a relationship, like primarily, and it's an attraction based, so it's to me, it's just it's tough. It's an interesting new message that this is so popular right now.
It's really
not new, right? It wasn't.
No.
It was huge in the 60s. 60s and 70s. It was a big deal, right?
Yeah. It's because this is that whole Carl Jung said, beware of unearned wisdom. So here you are. You take these mind expanding hallucinogenic drugs, which are very, very powerful tools. And you don't have any guidance, you don't have any real training, you don't have somebody who's like a real spiritual shaman or anybody who's really coaching you on this, and you just do it and you come out and you're like, oh, I have all this wisdom now, and I should just, it is a struggle to be with one person because I want to fuck lots of people. Why don't we just fuck lots of people and still date? You know what they used to call that back in the day? Just people you had sex with.
Yeah.
Right. Being single.
Yeah.
Why not just call it being single?
Yeah, just say, hey, we'll have
single,
sex
and then you
sometime.
have a good relationship with some of these. Like, that's so fun. That's the part that I don't understand about announcing something like that.
Yeah.
Like you're not in a relationship. You're not. You're fooling yourself to think you're in a relationship.
Yeah. It's attempting to put a scaffolding and structure around, it's like somebody, you're exactly right. It's like IFYM, how people use IFYM. Like, oh, I'm within my structure of my calories and my macros, but I can have all this dysfunctional disordered eating as long as I stay within my macros and my calories, and then it's all going to be okay. No, it doesn't work that way. It's no different than saying, if I could engineer and design pizza and cake and all these crazy hyper palatable foods to be healthy, then all of our problems will be solved. No, they won't, because most of what you gain from learning how to eat properly is not because the food that you're eating; it's the process along the way. That's really where it comes from, and it's no different. So to say it's evolved, I completely disagree. I think everybody, to each their own.
Gotta fit in those sprinkled donut holes.
But it's weird. It is interesting how the fitness and health and wellness, there's a whole segment of the space that's the ones that are pushing that, which to me, and it's just, what they are? They're fit, good-looking people is all it is.
Do you think think that is, or again, like I always like to challenge the way we think with stuff like this, is it just our bubble? Is it just this little bubble that we're in right now that, we're directly connected to the Onnit crew, which are openly all like that too. We know that. And most of the people that I think that follow them religiously know that.
Lots of people on the radio too.
Really?
Yeah. There's a lot of that. Jason Ellis, I know, is one. There's lots of this talk of polyamorism I've heard a lot lately, and it's interesting to me.
It's got a nice name now. You used to call it free love.
Yeah.
Is what they used to call it. I don't know, man. At the end of the day, here's the bottom line. This reminds me of another article I'll bring up in a little bit. At the end of the day, the person that you need to show the most empathy and love and respect to first is yourself. And if you treat yourself like something to be respected and valued, you typically don't just lend it out to be with whoever you want or whatever. And that's just in my personal experience. Well, and again, I'm not trying to judge. Like, I think if you're not hurting anybody, you're doing great. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But
I just think I don't know. I think it's irresponsible by people at that level. I think that if it's something that somehow you figured this out and it works for you and it serves you, then by all means. But
agreed.
I don't think that, especially if you're in a place like that where, I mean, she's got a massive following. I know the On It crew has a massive following. You could argue all you want that it's evolved or whatever, but let's be honest then, the 90% of the people that are paying attention to you are not on that level whatsoever, and you're probably going to end up fucking sending them down a terrible path of destruction, of despair, of fucking bad relationships and jealousy and all this shit that comes with that. And so I find it a little bit of irresponsible for someone to do that at that level. And that's just me. I mean, I'm not judging what they decide to do. Like, if you want to go do that, then go do that. You know, there was a time in my life, and Katrina, even when I shared with her, she's like, you said you could have been like that. And I said, well, yeah, no, I talked about when we first went to On It, that this is like this at 25 years old. This is what I would have wanted. I would have wanted.
And you got to think about that. Why at 25 and not now at 36 or 37?
Right. Because I've lived parts of that life, right? And I know what it's like to be in multiple relationships at once, and I know what it's like to be honest with all of them, and they know of each other. But it's not what everybody thinks it is until you get involved in it and you do it. It's more work, you know. Yeah. It's less happiness. It's not more. It's more challenging. And it's like, and then, you know, and I know she presents it in her thing like, you know, this is the universe trying to challenge me. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe. Or it's like a really old smart guy who's figuring out that you're around a bunch of hot chicks, and it's like, this is definitely the girl that I want to convince.
You know what's crazy about this is if you look at men and women generally and naturally, women are far more selective with their mates naturally. Of course, on an individual basis, this totally can break down, but we're talking about general here. And evolutionarily speaking, it makes sense because for all of human history, except for relatively recently, women bore the burden of the potential consequence of sex, which was getting pregnant. And for most of human history, that could be a death sentence, especially if you didn't have a hunter that partnered with you that would help hunt for you and take care of you, especially during the last trimester of pregnancy when you're not able to do many things. So women are far more selective. And I think this whole movement of polyamory, of having sex with lots of people and not worrying about being committed or whatever, it's almost a trick that men have promoted and promoted. This is like, hey, everybody do this, and people are buying it.
I read the same Chris Ryan book. You know, I read Sex at Dawn, and it was a great read. It was an incredible read. Katrina and I read it together. Incredibly challenging for a relationship to read that. But what it ended up, and I think what I saw is how it affected some. Some people use that book to give them as the excuse to go out and go do that. Her and I looked at it completely different. What it gave us was empathy for each other, for why it's so challenging to not go out and fuck everybody. Mm-hmm. It was like, yeah, it's kind of in our nature, right? It's kind of it's animal instinct to want to go do those things, but we've evolved as human beings. And so, in my opinion, to be more involved is to recognize the dangers, the bad things that come with that, and then learning to abstain from that. Mm-hmm. So it only strengthened Katrina and I's bond together because it did. It gave more empathy for each other. Like, man, wow, you get bombarded all the time by the opposite sex wanting to throw it at you. The fact that you still to abstain to be just with me.
That's the growth.
Yeah, exactly. It bonded us tighter instead of looking at it like some people go, oh, wow, you know, as monkeys, we used to fuck everybody. So maybe that's how we're supposed to be today.
Dude,
like, that's not smart.
Our animal instincts is...
We did a lot of things like throw shit at people and stuff too back then. Like, probably not a good idea to do that.
What is fitness, health, and real true wellness all about? It's acknowledging your animal instincts, but developing practices because you are evolved. Yeah. Oh, that's all it's about. Because your animal instincts tell you to eat whatever the fuck is in your face that tastes good and not eat what doesn't taste good. Your animal instincts tell you to not do hard work, just relax and be leisure and lazy. Your animal instincts tell you to seek pleasure at every given moment. So if you had access to drugs, do all the fucking drugs. But what does health and wellness teach you? What's the wisdom that comes from that?
Yeah, it's having control over all your urges. I mean, that's one of those things. It's like I don't want to eat the entire cake. I do want to eat the entire cake, but I won't because of the aftermath of it. You know, and like it's very similar to that. Like it's tough. It's tough to be in a relationship with one person for like eternity. You know, it's like, wow, that's like kind of a crazy ask. But, you know, and you could throw statistics at at it all day. Like it's not going to work. Like, and so therefore we shouldn't even try.
Look,
right?
all the major religions of the world have been around for thousands of years, and they exist and impact people. And now religion, just like any powerful tool, can be manipulated and used for bad. And trust me, lots of bad things have happened because of religions. But they exist for a reason, and that's because there is lots of wisdom in all these religions, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Christianity, Islam, whether it's Hinduism. They all contain a tremendous amount of wisdom. Now look inside deep in them, and what you'll find is practices around how you live, practices around how you eat, practices around sex. They all have practices around sex. Why? Because all these religions found wisdom in the fact that if you just go with your animal instincts, shit in reality, as great and as awesome as it feels on the surface, on a deeper level, it can become poison. And this is with all those things. And look at what we're encountering right now in modern times. We have access to look at celebrities. Celebrities have all the sex, all the money, all the drugs, all the food, all the leisure they could ever want. Look at their suicide rate. It's insane. Celebrities are constantly depressed and addicted to drugs and killing themselves, and they have all this shit. So the answer is not there. The answer is in abstinence in certain ways, structure, and in value. It's in it's meaning. It's not in the fun all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anyway.
And I'm not judging anybody that's in the middle of that, by all means.
No, but if we're going to teach wellness,
no, I agree.
Teach the truth,
No.
teach wellness.
I agree. Hey, this weekend did you do another one of your all day workouts?
I did, dude. I love them, man. Every time I do one, I
invite us again. You know what I mean?
Well, because I did the all day workout. So you know what I did this time?
That's how I found out. I was actually inviting him to work out with me, and he was like, "I'm doing my all day thing, and I'm riding." I'm like,
too late.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Every time I do it, I get a little stronger. I build a little bit of muscle, and then it's real inspiring because I write in between the workouts, and I find that it only takes me 20 minutes to do the workout because I pick 3 exercises. I do 3 sets. 5 reps.
Are you rotating the exercises, or you pretty much pick the?
I've done different exercises each time, but this time I did the 3 that I did the very first time, which was squat, bench press, and row, just major kind of movements. And what I did is I took cordyceps throughout the workout, the 4 sigmatic cordyceps, because I wanted the stamina and energy, but I knew if I took caffeine, at some point I would crash.
Bonk, yeah.
Yeah, so I stayed away from the caffeine. I did the cordyceps. Did the workout and then wrote in between.
The last time you did you use the cordyceps, or was this the first time you used them?
No, this is the first time I did the cordyceps, and I did notice a difference because it's a different kind of energy and stamina. It's not like, I'm not wired from it. I just feel like I can keep working out. But just like the last time, the second and third workout, I got way stronger. 4th and 5th, I started losing my strength. The 5th workout, inflation started setting in.
Now, since you were riding, did you notice did it have any cognitive benefits? Like,
always.
What did you write about?
Oh, so I wrote, and it's not up yet, but I wrote a guide on digital wellness.
Oh, nice. You did work on that. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I wrote a whole thing on practices and stuff. So.
I'm so fucking glad we're going here.
Yeah.
I'm really, I mean, this has been on me for the last couple years, and I know what we teased me for a while for reading the book, but man, there's not a lot.
You're like the first whistleblower.
Well,
I knew.
That's why it was just so impactful when I read it that it blew my mind. I was somebody who never had to have his cell phone around him, didn't really use it that much. I wasn't on fucking Facebook, MySpace, all those things. And then we decided to build this business that was literally, the foundation of it was built on social media and in a platform like this that we use our phone for. And I like to think I'm a self-aware person, and I saw my own behaviors and habits that were being formed and created from all these things now. Mm-hmm. And then I also started to see the effects of that in all of my relationships, in my relationship with Katrina and my relationship with my best friends. It's always a great reminder when I go back and I see my 2 childhood best friends, because we've done everything together since we were in 4th grade. And we've seen each other consistently our entire lives, but we've all kind of gone off and did different careers and different things. And they have family and kids now. And when I go hang out with them, they never have their cell phones. Mm-hmm. They never have. Now, when I'm with a lot of my friends over here and a lot of work and business friendships and relationships that we have, a lot of us are all in the mix of podcasting, Instagram, Facebook world, and in marketing. And so it's very normal that we all have our phones with us and out and using them. and nobody really gives each other shit because it's you understand. Like if I'm sitting there and I'm hanging out with one of our podcasting buddies or friends, and they pull their phone out and they start working a little bit or answering something, it's like I do that too, right? So I get it. But I'm reminded when I go back and I see these relationships that I've had for a really long time, and I also pay attention to the connection and the interaction that we have with each other, and I go man, fuck, this has gotten out of control.
It's gotten to the point where, especially the younger generation, the I generation, they've grown up so much with technology that their behaviors have solidified with these devices. So what happens when we know this through nutrition, when you're trying to help somebody eat healthier, but they've never developed good eating habits, they've never developed a good relationship with food, they just starting as a child, it's hard to do even the smallest change because those behaviors have been solidified for 2 or 3 or 4 decades, right, or longer. So when you're talking about doing digital wellness practices, for example, here's a simple one. This one's really easy. It's simple, but not easy. Tell people, hey, starting right now, here's a good digital wellness practice. Don't take your phone with you into the bathroom when you go sit on the toilet. And people are like, oh, that would suck. I don't want to do that.
Am I supposed to watch the paint peel?
Yeah. And it's like, you just sitting there and just be quiet.
Right.
That alone makes it so difficult for people.
It's interesting
that revealing how bad my poops are.
That you wrote about this right now, the whole Amanda Bucci thing that we just talked about. I think it's another example of this of right now it's going to be really hard to try and convince people. So it'd be interesting, after you release the guide, I'm really curious to see how much you get, because we can track, we pay attention to all the stuff that you write and how it gets shared and if it goes viral or it doesn't. I'm really curious if how far ahead we are on this, or if it's the right time for people and people are ready to hear that message, because right now I see lots of celebrating all the things that we have with tech, and not a lot of people are talking about, what's
how do we use it right?
Yep. Right. And what are some of the bad things if we don't actually pay attention to that, and we just pleasure, use all the time, and we don't think about, what could that potentially do to some of our relationships, and what am I doing to my brain, and what am I doing?
Dude, here's a great one right here. Just like with food, and the reason why digital wellness has really struck a chord with us for the last couple of years is because it's just like any other wellness practice you have, including nutrition. What happens when you eat hyper palatable food all the time? How does your perception of normal whole natural food change? Right?
Yeah, it's totally distorted.
Right. So what happens when you're on your phone all the time? And by the way, technology is an incredible gift. It's an incredible tool. It's just how you use it. So I don't want to come across as saying we're anti-tech, because we're definitely not. But let's say you're on your phone all the time and you're getting those dopamine hits constantly. Your brain adapts. It adapts to receiving these dopamine hits all the time. So what ends up happening is bored and quiet become far more painful than bored and quiet used to be. Bored becomes outright, I can't even handle it. Yeah. And if you're listening right now and you're thinking, oh, this sounds crazy, literally try this. The next time you stand in a long line, don't pull out your phone and see how fucking painful it is. If it's unbearable, it's because your brain is adapted to the crazy dopamine hits that you're getting.
Well, I told you what Enzo said, right? I mean, that's why I love that kid, is that he is very open, right? And he shares that, which is nice because it gives us this pulse on this younger generation that's 17 years old right now. And he said, dude, 15 minutes, he gets anxiety.
Yeah.
He's like, after hearing that first episode, you guys talked about the digital wellness, I started to try and abstain and try and not have a look at my phone every 5 minutes. Right. He goes, he says, I've clocked it. He goes, 15 minutes, and I start to get all fucking shaky and anxious.
Bro, this is
Jesus.
So we're talking about digital wellness is probably the next big frontier in the wellness space. But generally speaking, if I go larger and look more wide and philosophical, the answer to modern life moving forward is going to be all about
abstaining.
Because all of it.
And think about what we've been saying since way back when we hung out with Tom Bilyeu. Like, anything that can be free will be free.
Dude,
we're heading in a time. I mean,
we have everything we want.
Right.
We're gonna have, and this is the funny thing. And here's the thing about free societies and free markets. Free markets allow humans to pursue their self-interest and work together to do so in the most efficient ways possible. And so what you end up seeing with markets is the stuff that we want and desire gets built and made really, really fast. And we're going to learn, and I hope it's not the hard way, that getting everything that we really want. All of our desires and immediate, wants are going to be met. We're going to get all the food we want, all the fucking relaxing time we want, all the fun and distractions that we want, all the altering our brain chemistry we want, everything that we want, and we're going to end up being like, why are we so depressed and anxious and lost? And then we're going to go back and be like, oh, let's look at the ancient wisdom. Those fucking people knew what they were talking about.
Well, and here's the thing too. I don't want to be all hippie about it either. Like, I don't want to demonize these tools. I think that it's just like we talk about food. Like, we don't demonize having cake or doing things like that, but becoming aware. That's all. I mean, that's it. It's just, I think that's the message. Is just, hey, listen, just think about it for a second, like, and pay attention to these things and what it could potentially do to you. I'm not saying don't use your phone, don't do those things. Absolutely, use all those things. They're incredible tools that have helped us. Don't not have a piece of cake at your son's birthday. Do those fucking things.
I just want to maintain control over it. Yeah. So your behaviors aren't dictated based off of like reacting to the phone. It's you are determining those boundaries.
You're intentional.
Yeah, you're intentional every time you're using it.
Yeah, even if it's leisure. Even if you want to go on and waste time, it's intentional. Hey, I'm gonna go. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on for 30 minutes and just go through Instagram and just waste time.
And
but
you're
it's
way more productive that way too.
Yeah, exactly.
You sent over on the thread, Sal, a vegan thing imploding. What was that all about?
There's all these vegan
on YouTube.
Yeah, there's all these. There's this whole vegan community on YouTube of these young YouTube stars that
vegan gains and stuff like that.
Yeah, that just have these huge followings through promoting like a vegan lifestyle or a raw vegan lifestyle. And what's happening is they're falling like dominoes. And the reason why they're falling is either they're getting caught eating meat or fish, or they're coming out and saying, I was vegan for 4 years.
I heard that. Who was the girl that had to like apologize because she got caught eating fish or something?
She did, and she said that it was because her doctor told her to, because she had to because of her health. Wow. Then there's that one dude that that one high level athlete that I can't remember his name. He might be in the article. I'll see if I can pull it up. But he said that he had to eat eggs again, and after he ate eggs, you're gonna love this. He said he ejaculated for the first time in years.
Oh my God!
Because his health had gone so bad. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Years?
Yeah. Yep. Wow. For years.
A couple weeks didn't go by, you didn't think someone was
bastard.
Up? Right?
Well, you know what? When it becomes
just dust was coming out, or
when it becomes a
religion.
Yeah, I know. And because what happens is a lot of vegans are motivated by empathy towards animals, not for health. Then they start to justify it with health, right? But it's all about like I want to be empathetic towards animals. I think killing animals is immoral. And so they become vegan based on that, and that is, it's a very powerful motivator. And so they tend to ignore a lot of the symptoms that happen many times when you're pure vegan, which is nutrient deficiencies and and all kinds of crazy. What's that guy's name, Doug? Tim Sheaf. Yeah.
Oh wow, he was on What the Health and Forks Over Knives.
Yeah. He was a free running champion or whatever, and he had to eat eggs and salmon.
Wow.
Damn, now when you're somebody who is on those documentaries promoting that stuff, then you can come out. That's another thing too. It's like
the vegan community rips them.
Oh, I bet.
Dude,
they're probably venomous towards them.
Oh, one of the girls comes out and then she's getting messages like, "No wonder you look bloated," and look at me, I'm so skinny because I'm still vegan. And you look like shit, and it's terrible.
Damn.
Terrible shit, bro.
Wow.
It's that whole community is, and I wrote about this and I said, the thing about this, I think, and I know I'm going to get hammered for this. First of all, I understand that there's a lot of empathy involved with being a vegan, and I admire it. Like, you're doing it because you think something's immoral, and you're doing it through action. And I admire that because there's a lot of people that pretend to care about shit and don't actually do any actions behind it, and those people are full of shit. You actually follow through, and you have a belief. But here's something that Paul Chek said that I thought that was important. He said, you don't want to, the most important animal to be empathetic towards, first and foremost, is yourself. And if you're following a diet that is hurting you, your empathy is being misplaced because you're not being empathetic to yourself. And when you're eating a pure vegan diet, it can definitely be done in a way to where you can live the rest of your life doing it. But the only reason why it can be done today is because of modern technology. And vegans oftentimes need to take supplements. And you have to be very, very well planned and informed on how to organize and structure your diet. Because if you just say, I'm just not eating any animal products, and you just eat whatever, and you think, oh, this is healthy, I think this is, you don't know you're missing major nutrients.
When you eliminate one of the most nutrient dense foods that we can find out there, which is meat. When you think about all meats, okay, some of the most nutrient dense foods are meat. And when you completely just say, hey, I'm going to try and follow this. Following a diet, period, is hard, right? Following a diet, period, is really, really challenging and difficult. Then if you're going to eliminate the foods that have some of the most resources for you nutritionally, and then say you're going to, doesn't mean it can't be done, but it means, holy shit, you got an uphill battle. It's going to be a lot harder to do that. And like you said, Sal, I commend those that have this ability, that if you do have feelings for the animals and you have made a choice that, hey, I am going to take the more difficult path, and I'm going to do these things and have to plan my day out. And I know it's going to be challenging to get all those nutrients, but I care that much about this movement that I'm going to be a part of it. The problem that I have with it is all the justification that's coming around it being so healthy and it's so easy and trying to debunk.
Well, if we had stomachs like cows, like if we were set up biologically to just eat plants, that would be a different story. But we're not. Like we need like meat, and it's removing yourself from nature in a sense, like the circle of life. So it's like we're trying to create something new. As humans, and it's just not working.
You would not survive in nature if you were trying to be vegan in a natural hunter-gatherer environment. You wouldn't, because plants don't grow. You don't get the wide variety that you get at the supermarket now because of modern technology, to where you can fill in holes. Now, meat provides you with pretty much everything you need, and so I'm not saying veganism is wrong. What I'm saying is, if you're going to be a vegan for ethical reasons, first of all, it's hard enough to eat a healthy diet when you eat meat, and that provides you with a lot of essential nutrients. You take all the meat out, you better plan your shit. You better really inform yourself and be smart about what you're doing and understand what you need to supplement with, or know what food combinations you need to eat, because otherwise you'll end up with like some nutrient deficiencies and issues where a lot of these girls are like, I didn't get my period for 4 years, and I had SIBO and all kinds of different, health issues because of something that they were doing that they thought that was healthy.
Right.
This quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout. First question is from Michael Salzel. What are some exercises you guys hate doing but know are good for you?
Ooh.
I have one that, we talk on the podcast about this, and I think one of the things I didn't say about this movement is that I fucking dreaded it and hated it forever, which was Bulgarian split squats.
Oh, yeah.
So I've posted about it. I've talked positively about it, but I never shared the history of that movement for me. It's not like I just found out about Bulgarian split squats. I've known about Bulgarian split squats for a very long time. They just didn't consistently get into my routine until like the last 5 years or so. So for the first 10 years, I hate it. And I would just, every once in a while, because I'd read some research on it or find something out, and then I'd go to the gym and do it and be like, fuck, this sucks. I don't want to do this. So I wouldn't do it. I'm just being straight up. I'm going to go do something else, a step up, fucking leg press, anything but that. And it wasn't until I started to first really address my mobility and get to the place. And so the limiting factor, let me back up a little bit. Part of why I think I hated it so much is because I really lacked the mobility to perform it really well. My ankle mobility and my hip mobility was so terrible that it was just painful. It was embarrassing, I'll be honest. I remember having girlfriends that we'd be both doing, because girls love that exercise, right? They've been marketed to a million times about how great Bulgarian split squats are great for butts, so every girl does them. And so I'm doing them, many times like this when I've got a girl with me. And, it's fucking embarrassing when she's doing as much or more weight than I am on it, because I'm struggling to get it to do it. So I avoided them like the plague forever until I addressed the ankle and hip issues that I was dealing with. And then I could get into a place where I could actually do them really well and feel actually comfortable doing them. And then when I started to progress them, it was just game changer for me. And it's a movement that I didn't do forever. Now I do it now, so I know this.
Do you still hate them?
No, I actually love them now. And this is why I wanted to bring that up is because I've had this relationship with many different exercises. Squats, I could go in and talk about the history of squatting for me. It's the same way. And this is, again, something that I say on the podcast a lot. Normally, what's best for you are the things that you're not doing. And, these movements that we know that are good and you avoid them because they're difficult, those are the ones that you should be working towards. And if it's like in my case where it's limiting factors because of mobility, you shouldn't just hang it up and say, oh, I can't do that. I can't do squats because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, how about you address the reason why you can't do them? And that's you working towards getting to a place where you can squat.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with barbell squats. I've been barbell squatting forever, as long as I've been working out. And, I'm okay at them. I got pretty good at doing them at one point. But nothing exhausts me like hard set of barbell squats. And I don't know what it is exactly. I can do any other exercise hard, and squats always make me way more tired and way more wasted. Like if I do 3 hard 12-rep sets of squats, the rest of the workout suffers because it just takes so much out of me. So I have this but I love them because, when I move away from squats, when I go back to them, I just see great results. My legs develop, my back develops, I feel stable, I feel strong. It improves my mobility. So I love them because of the benefits that they give me. And I mean, years ago, when I've told this story many times, I first started barbell squatting when I think it was 16. And because of barbell squats and deadlifts, I gained like 15 pounds over a summer. I remember building all this muscle. And so I love them for the effects that they give me. For performing them, they're just grueling. I have to be in the right mental state to do a barbell squat. Whereas other exercises, I can get into it and start loving it. But if I'm not in the right mental state for squats, I end up cutting myself short.
Yeah, I threw out pull-ups there in the very beginning, and I'm serious about that to where I couldn't stand pull-ups. And it was mainly because when I was going through sports, the major goal for me was to build mass and to build muscle and to get really strong at these, core foundational lifts, squats, bench press, overhead press, lots of pressing, and then power cleans. So even a little bit of deadlifting, but not intense deadlifting like I'll try and do now. But in terms of pulling overhead, I just was not doing that. And so on top of that, gaining all this mass, now the strength to weight ratio, I'm having to deal with the fact that I have all this mass and I haven't accounted for it because I'm not actually, putting myself in a position where I have to use, all of my strength to, against my weight. So
you had to pull that big cakes out.
I was heavy, man. I hated it.
Anchor.
And so
they call me
he
anchor.
puts the ass in mass.
Yeah. So that year I told you guys, I spent specifically on body weight training, was me punching myself in the face, basically. I have to do this. I have to get better at pull-ups. I have to incorporate it. And then I went all in. Now it's it comes up more regularly within my workouts, but there's still a little bit of dislike there.
Yeah. It's the 9 out of 10 times the reason why you don't like an exercise is because you're not good at it. That's all.
That's it. I mean, it's
get good at the exercise, and you'll probably start
you end up
to
loving
like it.
You'll love it.
Yeah,
it's actually one of the most rewarding things. I mean, I'm going through this right now with swimming. When I got in the pool and I just swam across the pool, I mean, my mechanics are terrible, and and by where I'm at now is still. It's just a little bit better than terrible. It's just bad now, right? But it's that overcoming that and then getting good at it. What keeps me going every day is that I know, actually when I get really good at it, it's so rewarding to know because I know where I came from. And so when you do a movement that you're just oh, I hate this. And it's well, there's probably some reasons why you hate it. It could be hard. You may not have enough stamina to do some of these things. You may be weak. Those muscles are weak. You may be lacking the mobility. A lot of things, right? Or just flat out, it's a challenging movement like a squat. That's very mechanically driven and can be challenging for a lot of people. And it just flat out takes a lot of reps before you actually get pretty good or get in the groove. So the thing you got to remember is that those things that suck or you hate, if you have the discipline to work towards getting better at it, man, the reward when you do is that you end up loving it, and it pays you back a bunch. And
it's also changed your expectations. I mean, okay, you suck at an exercise, so what? You're going to hate it more, like Justin with his pull-ups. Probably part of the reason why you hated pull-ups so much is because you weren't good at them when you were good at other exercises, right?
Right.
But if you have no expectations, if you didn't know that you were supposed to be good at them, it might have changed your perception of whether or not you like them or not. Like if you knew nobody could do pull-ups, but you could do 2, you'd be like, cool, I like these because now I could do 2 and no one else can. I think change your expectations. Like when you go to the gym, don't think to yourself, I should be lifting this much. I should be able to do this much stuff. Just do it and just be okay with what you're doing. And you'll find you'll probably hate what you're doing a lot less.
Next question is from Lawless Fitness. We were sold information about meal frequency, and it turns out there isn't a big difference when you eat. It's overall calories. You guys preach about training frequency with a vested interest in selling programs. What's to say science won't disprove the need for frequency and that only volume matters? And if that happens, will you pivot and change your programs?
I don't think it'll change, only because this is based off of, not off of science. This is based off of decades of experience training people. That being said, of course, none of us are so sold on an idea that we're afraid to change our position. If we're working with people and something else comes out and it works better, you know what we'll probably do? Create new programs that reflect,
of course,
our new understanding.
100% we would, but in this situation, because there is research that's coming out, and I seen somebody posting something the other day about this, that how close it is to being even study. Like if all things are equal, if the volume is equal in the training, that the difference between someone doing it all in one workout or 2 workouts or 3 workouts, we are kind of splitting hairs. But the part that I think that we drive home more than just the research with science is the psychological piece.
The adherence.
Yes, and teaching people to train that way versus this all out on a muscle group and hammering the body and being super sore for X amount of days.
And that comes with wisdom, training people,
right?
The long term, not just for a whatever 6-month study or even however long it is. Like we've seen patterns within hundreds of people to where we come to these conclusions. But yeah, of course, we're going to be open to challenge our own ideas all the time.
It's like this too. If you were to compare 2 study groups, one group followed the way I coach somebody nutritionally, where I say, write down what you're supposed to eat, or write down all the foods that you currently eat. Then I assess it. I pick one thing that I want them to follow and change about it, and we do that for the next 2 weeks, and then I add something 2 weeks later, and then 6 weeks go by, and I've only changed 2 or 3 things in their diet. You take that person and you compare, that group of people, and then you compare it to another group of people that get a caloric restricted diet right out the gates that they have to adhere to, and we measured the people in 6 weeks. Well, guess what group is actually going to show better results? Not my group. Mm-hmm. My group won't show better results. But that doesn't mean that I don't still preach that and talk that way, because what I'm thinking about, I'm taking into consideration factors that these studies don't always take into consideration, the psychological piece, that I want this person to create new behaviors for the rest of their life. And this also goes to the point of frequency. And hammering a single body part, sure, it might work for the bodybuilder. And studies might show that, volume. I just had somebody tag me and ask me about this exact same question, so it's funny that we're here. That maybe it does one day. I don't think that I would come out and still think that the way we're talking about frequency is not a better way. If it showed that they were negligible, and I still say this about meal frequencies. So I still see value in lots of meals for certain cases. If you're somebody who's eating 5,000 or 6,000 calories, I advise 5 to 6 meals a day. It's pretty fucking hard to get 4,000 or 5,000 calories in 2 meals. I don't think it's a smart strategy. So there doesn't mean that, if the science comes out and says it's negligible, just like the meal frequency, that there isn't some value for some people to use these tools.
Yeah, I think it's superior to go to the gym and practice your lifts on your whole body more often than not, rather than hammer a body part once a week and lose that practice throughout the week. Yeah. There's that component as well. Like, 9 sets of squats on Monday versus 3 sets of squat Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Even if they built the same amount of muscle and strength, practicing it more frequently, you're going to learn the movement, in my opinion, much better because you're just doing it more frequently.
And you're less likely to overreach too much, which in our experience, okay, all the clients I've trained, when somebody pushes, okay, and is motivated to lift and to train hard, we're more likely to, and we see this in ourselves, still as trainers and knowing better, I'm still more likely to overreach than I am to undertrain. And so it's creating good habits in people. So there's a lot.
It's also, look, here's another one that just came to me. That's silly, but it's true. When you're doing one body part a day, and you're hitting it once a week, whereas, biceps on one day, chest on one day, back on one day. Look, all of us have an area on our body that we don't like to train as much as the others. Guess which day people tend to skip when it's a one body part a day type of routine. Right. The one they don't like.
Yeah.
So when you have a bunch of guys doing a body part split and they hate working their legs, and leg day's Thursday,
chicken legs.
They usually miss Thursday. If they have to hit legs 3 days a week, they probably will hit their legs at least twice. And so what I find when I have clients do more frequent training and control the volume to be the same, just the adherence is much better on all accounts. So it really doesn't matter to me what the study says necessarily, because the real world is a little bit different. And the studies definitely don't say that more frequency is worse. The studies are saying that it's either better or the same if the volume is controlled. That's what they're showing right now. Because there's studies right now that show that more frequency is better if the volume is controlled. Then a new one came out that said, oh no, it's just about volume. It doesn't make a big difference. So in my opinion, the jury's still out. Nonetheless, you're better off, in my opinion, hitting the body more frequently for lots of other reasons, not just the muscle growth and that kind of stuff.
Well, and that was my analogy of the food thing that I talked about, because 100%, if you were to compare my way of eating or teaching my clients to eat versus somebody who gave them a strict calorie-restricted diet right away, the calorie-restricted diet people are going to show better results in 6 weeks.
And the studies will be like Adam's, Mind Pump's method of taking it slow, tracking, changing behaviors one at a time, not as effective as throwing everything but the kitchen sink at people in a 6-month period. Right. Why don't you follow it for 6 years? Right. Now let's see what happens. I mean, we know what happens.
This is how I feel about full body routines. Mm-hmm. When you're first beginning and you're creating these good habits, I believe this is the way to go. That's like how we met. When we met, I was just starting to piece that together after 10 years. Like, this is the way to teach. Now, later on, should they or could they evolve to a program like Map Split? That's why we did that. That's why it came out 5 programs later. But we still, I think the philosophy of the full body routine is going to benefit way more people, especially those people that are first coming in and learning these good habits of training. And then when you're at this level, when you're 5 years deep, you've been training consistently, fucking A, by all means. I split my body up all the time. I train more like that right now. That doesn't mean, though, I would tell my clients to do that just because I do that. Right. I'm in a different place in my fitness journey than 99% of the people that I'm talking to.
Right. But I would also like to see more studies too, because look, I tell you what, like, if you do 15 sets for your back or your legs on one day versus 5 sets 3 days a week, the exercise selection tends to be different. It just does. Like, I know if I'm doing 5 sets 3 days a week on my legs, the exercises I'm going to pick from are the big, most effective ones, because I'm only doing 5 sets and I have the gas to do it. I can do barbell squats 3 days a week if I want. I'm not going to do 15 sets of barbell squats all in one day. It's just not going to happen. What tends to happen is the first 5 sets are the good exercises, and the rest are all these other exercises where, because I'm fucking gassed and I can't do anything else. So I'd like to see more studies on this. I'm not at all. There was one that came out and everybody's like, "Oh, look, it's only volume."
I was tagged on it. That's why I thought it was fun. Did you? I don't know if you picked this
Oh
one.
Yeah, I got tagged on the same thing. And it's like, no, in the real world, I don't think so. But I'd still like to see more studies that compare back to back. I think that, if the volume is controlled, I think to a certain extent, to a certain level, of course, you can't do this to infinite, but to a certain extent, more frequency is going to be better, even when we're just controlling for strength and muscle. And there are other studies to show this.
That's a great question, though. I love to be challenged on the way we think, because
and at the end of the day, if anything came out and we were like, oh my God, I think we were wrong. We will totally change. Yeah. I have no problem doing that. We've already done it. Shit, the way we talked about foam rolling in the beginning, totally different than the way we talk about it now. There's lots of things that we've already changed our minds on. It would happen with training too.
Next question is from Jay Skittles. How important is it for a personal trainer to be in shape? Do you think a trainer who is obese can succeed?
Oh, I don't think it's super important for a trainer to look in shape, although it makes a difference when getting clients. It always does.
Right.
But
in terms of marketability.
But does it make a big difference to practice what you preach to be a trainer? Mm-hmm. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Definitely. It would be very hard to be successful.
There's a big spectrum on this.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could be, and Justin loves them. I'm gonna pick on him right here. You could be like, just
because it's a weight thing.
No. Listen, for real, you could be like someone like Justin who, at first glance doesn't look like he's this shredded trainer, ripped dude. But if you see him move in the gym, you 100% know that. So there's different things that I think are important. Now, if you were somebody who's overweight and deconditioned, you move like shit in the gym, I think that you need to be practicing what you preach more before you're going off and you're teaching others to do something. So I do think there's an area. Then I also have seen people that are complete. I've had lots of trainers who work for me like this. Never, okay? In fact, I'm trying to rack my brain and think of at least one before I say never, but I can't think of anyone right now off the top of my head that was my most ripped, fittest trainer that was also my most successful trainer. It never happens. Just because they look a certain way, they've only proven that they've figured it out for themselves. And a lot of times
they're neurotic, just the neurotic.
Exactly. They've spent so much. They've spent so much time figuring it out for themselves that they spent no time communicating information to others and getting others to adhere to eating correctly and exercise. And so they're terrible trainers. So. Yeah, no, I don't think you need to be the ripped trainer, but I also don't think being obese is probably...
No, I had a trainer once that worked for me who lost something like 90 pounds on his own and then came in and talked to me and has been working out. Fitness had changed his life, and he wanted to train other people. And you look at the guy, and he was still a little bit overweight, not massive, but he didn't look like your stereotypical, like, ripped fit trainer, just kind of looked like an everyday guy, maybe a little bit of extra body fat. But I loved him. I loved his attitude. He had a real passion for what he was doing, and he practiced what he preached. And so we brought him on board. And guess what? He was quite successful, especially with the people who were intimidated by the shredded trainers and the people who needed to be able to connect with someone who understood where they were coming from.
Well, let's be honest. That's more people than the other side.
That's right.
A lot of people want people that they can relate with, and so there's that part of it's not quite as marketable from a just like a visual perspective, right? So as you're walking in, who's most impressive is going to get the immediate attention. And and there's still a place for people that do maybe they just lost a bunch of weight, but they're still on a journey. And now they're coaching people, and so we've seen this before, and like very successful trainers have been able to relate on a level where your narcissistic shredded guy is like not going to be able to achieve get anywhere with that person.
I think this question comes because of how much that's exaggerated today.
Yeah.
I mean, we see
social media makes it seem that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of quote unquote coaches, health coaches, nutrition coaches, trainers online now, and their whole model is built around check out me. Look how shredded I am. Take a look.
You want to know what's funny? If you're super, super shredded and you're young and you're a trainer, it might actually hurt you. It might actually make you, no joke, it might actually make you unapproachable, or you'll get people will look at you. The average client is not young. The average client that hires, because personal training is expensive. The average personal training client's mid-30s up to 50s, okay? So they're professionals, typically a little bit more mature, a little bit more intelligent, have a little bit more money. And if you're like a 20-year-old shredded-ass personal trainer, they might look and be like, well, yeah, of course, you're 20. When really, really being fit, it becomes a big bonus when you're an old personal trainer. I've had 45-year-old shredded female and male trainers, and those are the ones that clients go, I want to hire that guy over there. He's like 40-something years old. Look at it. I want to hire that guy over there. That's when it would kind of make a difference. Other than that, you just got to just be healthy. Just look healthy, because obviously if you look unhealthy, people aren't going to believe that you're, practicing what you preach. But it's really what's inside of you. And if you practice what you preach, you're going to be a much better trainer than somebody who preaches health, preaches fitness, but doesn't believe in it, doesn't work out, doesn't eat right, or maybe just have great genetics, takes anabolic steroids, and then they go and train clients. Those people never do a good job because they don't relate to the average person. They really don't know how to communicate to the average person. So I think you definitely need to practice what you preach. But In Shape is my most successful trainers of all time were not the most impressive. Just like what you were saying, Adam. Yeah. They were never the super impressive
That's
trainers.
why I said I was trying to think of one, but I really don't think I've ever had one who was the fittest, most ripped guy or girl, and then also was my top performer. In fact, more often than not, they were the ones that were so into themselves that they weren't really great with their clients. It's normally the middle of the road type of trainer who, they're healthy, they're fit, they take care of themselves, but they're also very passionate about helping others, and they're and growing and being more educated and learning themselves. That those were the ones that were the most successful.
Yeah, I've had a couple bodybuilders work for me too, like national level competitive bodybuilders, and they were terrible trainers. All they cared about was got to get my meal in at the right time, got to get my training, and then the way they would train clients was like they were training other potential bodybuilders.
They purely survived off of the small percentage of people that wanted to be motivated by that have that, because there's people that absolutely buy. I've had people come and buy training from me and say, I want your most ripped trainer, I want your buffest trainer.
Yeah.
That one, but there are a very small percentage of people that are
they're training like 15 sessions a week. Very few clients.
Very, very few people that are like that. Most people want somebody either they can relate to, connect to, or that's truly going to help them.
That's right. I had a lot of clients at a very early age, and 18, 19-year-old Sal was not impressive. It just wasn't. I was a young kid. I was a teenager, with my my shirt on and everything. I don't know. I kind of looked like I work out, but I was working and competing against other trainers in my gym that were shredded and jacked and whatever. But I could communicate, and I was passionate. I really cared about what I was doing, and I had 3 times as many clients as they did. So if we were to look at the laundry list of things that you need to be a successful trainer, being impressed, like super impressive physically, doesn't even make the top 30. That's literally, I'm not exaggerating, doesn't even make the top 30.
Next question is from Kai J. Kraft. Tips on not being so socially awkward.
Oh, yeah. You know what's funny about
I feel
this?
like that's directed at me.
Yeah, not at all. You know what's hilarious about this is I learned this as I got older. Some of the most charismatic people I've ever met were also unabashedly somewhat awkward. They're kind of off, but they're comfortable with their offness.
That's the key right there.
Yep.
The key is that we had a question that was directed to Justin at the last live event we just did, and it was around this. And
it was about being quiet.
It's about being quiet. Well, I think being really quiet in social settings can also.
Some people can feel like they're being awkward.
Yeah, and a lot of times they are socially awkward, and they know they're socially awkward, so they don't say anything, and that's why they're quiet.
Sure.
So it's along these lines, and Justin answered, and then I kind of put my 2 cents in, because I think that because I talk about being this extrovert, and I've been outgoing my whole life, yada, 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 that at one point I didn't feel socially awkward. Like, I 100% remember those feelings. I remember totally being that person. But I got to a point in my life where I stopped caring what other people thought about me. And that was really the moment where I transcended into this, quote unquote, extrovert, where I love being in front of lots of people and I don't mind talking. But really the transformation was I just stopped truly giving a fuck. Mm-hmm. I stopped caring what people thought if I said something wrong. And those that have been listening to this podcast for a long time know that, because at the beginning of it, that's my nerves coming out, right? A lot of times when I would fumble in a word or make a word up, when we first started this podcast, it's because this was a new set of skills that we were trying to learn. I had the thoughts in my head, trying to come, and we would joke about it and tease me that it just didn't come out right. But I didn't allow the teasing and then the comments to bother me. Like, I really genuinely, I don't care. I'm comfortable with who I am, and so I shared the story of Tom Bilyeu interviewing Gary Vee to this kid and said, because I think it was a very impactful statement that he made to Gary Vee. And Tom Bilyeu asked Gary, he goes, you know what your superpower is? And Gary's like, what's that? And Tom goes, you don't judge yourself. And Gary was kind of blown back because he never heard anyone say that before. And I think that's such a true statement. I think the people that are the best at just going out there and speaking their minds, they just have got to a point in their life where they don't judge themselves anymore. And because they don't judge themselves, they don't get in this. And the people that I know that are the most socially awkward or the most quiet are also the ones that are in their head the most. They're in their head the most, and they're so worried to say something because someone's going to make fun of them, or someone's going to be like, that's stupid, or they're going to, who cares? That's the absolute worst thing that could happen. That's not going to hurt you. That doesn't do anything. So I think having that attitude, going into it and learning to practice that, to stop judging yourself first and not worry what other people think.
Yeah, totally. I appreciate people that connect to that. Me on the show and just the evolution of like how I had to deal with, expressing opinions and really being a little bit more vocal. The irony is, growing up, I was very, outspoken amongst my friends and peers. And like, there's a way that I was able to deal with social awkwardness. And it was really through humor and just entertainment and just like deflecting. So in terms of like where my real uncomfortable side of me, like when I start to analyze what comes out of my mouth and like making sure I don't sound like a fucking idiot, and that's, again, the judgment like you're talking about, like that's where all of that came from, and the anxiety around that of like trying to be smart. And even though I know I know a lot. I know I have a lot of education around certain topics, and I can interject where I want to. That's the part of me the most where I'm like, I need to work on this. And then, so for me, it's about a continual effort, and thankfully it's my job now where I have to work on this like every single day. And it's helped me to grow, and it's definitely like trickled into the rest of my social life and in situations where I'm in public and I have to, talk to people and I have to interact. I've never met you before. The small talk piece. It's funny because my dad and I were talking about this, and he remembers distinctively, like all his friends thought I was like radio silent. Like, does your son ever talk? Like this whole time. But all my friends knew me as the most social, outgoing person they've ever met in their life. And, and that's something that I realized that, as I had mentioned a long time ago, bartending really started the catalyst for me to understand how to relate to somebody, in the small talk format. I have to get to somewhere with this person and connect. And so, there's ways to do that where it's just as simple as, saying hi and talking about the weather and all that bullshit, like surface stuff. You got to get to there.
It's a good example of kind of what we're talking about, where they're just confident being themselves, but they have all the characteristics of what you would consider a classically awkward person to have. Ben Greenfield. Ben Greenfield classically has all of the kind of weird, awkward ways he talks and movements and subjects and clothes. I mean, we met with him in San Jose a while ago here, and he met us at this restaurant, and he's wearing these weird Jesus sandals and these super tight pants that ended up tearing because he squatted down or something. And
like red, blue blockers.
Red, blue blocker glasses. And the way he sits on a chair is he kind of perches up there like a vulture. But Ben is Ben, and he's very confident being Ben, and he just talks and does his thing. And it's magnetic. Next thing you know, there's people sitting around him talking to him, and he's just kind of doing his thing. And it draws people. It draws people because real confidence isn't boastful, and it's not loud and in your face. It's literally
it's
just
authentic. It's your authentic self.
You're just being comfortable. This is the advice I give. I give people sometimes when they're like, "Oh, I get so nervous sometimes talking to people or talking to groups. What do I do?" And one of the tips I tell them is tell them you're nervous. Right out the gates. Let them know, oh my God, I'm so nervous right now. Just get it out. Let them know that you're nervous. Be okay with it. And then watch what happens. Oftentimes it makes people feel a lot better. But if you're comfortable with yourself, that's what you can be. Weird as fuck. In fact, the weird, comfortable people are the most charismatic people in the world. It's a fact. Think of the absolute most charismatic people, and they're kind of different. They're just super, super comfortable. When you meet them in person, you can't help but being drawn to them. So it's about that self-judgment. If you eliminate that, you probably won't be or feel so socially awkward. And with that, go to mindpumpfree.com and download some of our guides for free. They cost nothing. You can also find us all on Instagram. My page is Mind Pump Sal, Justin is Mind Pump Justin, and Adam is Mind Pump Adam.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.